right back with the Civic. I've noticed that I've got a bit of a fuel smell. If I come underneath here, you can see there's some marks, some dribbles or something, which is probably fuel. What kind of has to be fuel coming from there. So what I'm going to do is drop down the two hangers, see if I can have a look, and hopefully I'll be able to just see if that top hose has come loose or something. So let's do that. So just whiz the two retaining nuts off these hanger bolts, and then the actual two nuts themselves, and that means I've got more space. I've got the light up in there, and I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to prime the car and just see if I can see some dribbles. So, priming. So what I hope you've just seen there is that pipe, that little AN connection weeping a bit. So I'm going to get my AN spanner, tighten this one on the left you can see, and see how we go. So I've just done up the little AN connection with this aluminium spanner. Wasn't incredibly loose. Let's see if now it stops leaking. Let's have a look. It seems to still be leaking, and there's a lot of fuel all over the AN fitting. You can't quite see because there's not a lot of space in there. So I decided to drop the tank fully down, or at least down onto this jack with the rubber pad on it, and I'm going to undo one side and then try and get a better purchase on doing up both of them. So I'm going to just basically take both of them off and have a look. So there's the return off. I'm just going to check this is all tight here going into the actual Teflon hose, and then I'm going to try and tighten. We'll see the other one's loose. So I've just dropped the return down. That was the same situation. I hadn't really tightened that up enough, or I don't know, at least to the flat. So that's what people say you should do. So now I'm just going to put them back on. The final thing to check was that fitting for the AN6 was done up the black one, kind of on the bottom of your screen now because of how I've got to get the camera. So I just did that up with an 18mm, and that seems tight as well. We've got a little leak. So this is a little, I think it's M12 by 1.25 into the fuel pump feed, and this is AN6. And yeah, I think this this little copper ring has seen better days. So I'm going to put another one of those on there, and I might even have another one of these. Go and check. And yeah, I do have another one, and it looks like the top thread of this is a bit nicer condition than this one. I don't know, I'll use it. And I've got a new copper washer, so I'll just put it on there, tighten it all down. Right, we've still got a leak. I think it's coming from the return, the actual bit welded to the top hat. That's all I can think of. So I'm actually going to take the whole tank out. Don't really want to do this, but so there we have the fuel pipes, and I need to just undo everything and take the seats out and undo the electrical bit, and then slide the tank out. So here we go. Because Andy's not here, I'll say it for him. Catch of the day. That's the fuel tank out, and I think this is what is going on. I think there's some leaking going on in here, so I'm going to quickly whip this whole thing off, and yeah, I think it's just 10 mils, and I can just get like this and take all them off, take it out and have a look. So just taking the wiring loom off the sender, run it round back to here. And this is obviously the fuel pump, Allbro 255. Just let that drain down there, and then
cover this up a sec.
So I just went inside, dribbled some water onto the top of or where that pipe is, because that was been trenched in, and no problem there. So I'm just gonna tighten this on there again, just check that's okay, and then I don't know what else I can really check. Maybe it's the pipes themselves, I might have a better look at them, but I can't see an issue here, so all very strange. Let's put this back in the tank. I might just use the cup for now, just to stop any stuff getting in there, and then
So now I've got this whole fun game of putting it back in by yourself. Jack there, rubber pad, and then in here, this whole bit, trying to get it on the hook. Don't forget the wiring loom bit, and then that's just trying to go. You see that in there? That's the hook hole. Try to get it on. It's about the best angle I can get, but you can see there's a hook thing. I'm just in there. Right, now for these pipes, which are for the filler neck and the breather.
So I bought some new AN6 connections. You can see here, this is the 90. It's actually a little bit shorter, I think, than the one that's on there, and hopefully won't get crimped. And like I was saying before, I think what's happening is that this, as I did up the fuel tank, it caught on the bottom of the car and crushed that down a bit. So when I'm rotating it around, it goes stiff and then easy, then stiff and then easy. And this, obviously a new part, doesn't have that problem. So I think that's what's happened. There's actually a leak caused somewhere in there on the old AN6 connection, and all I need to do is wind this back. I can leave this collar and the little olive in place, and I should just be able to wind on this new part onto the line and then just place it in. So what I'm going to do is just come in here, undo the lines, and then fit these, and hopefully I'll get rid of my issue. So I'm putting back on the little connection, which is for the fuel pump. You see it's AN6 one side, and I believe that's M12 by 1.25, but I'll put it up on the flash bar there. And this is the correct, for this Torx converter, it's best to use a 11/16 because that really nicely fits in here. So I'm going to just put a new copper ring on there, copper washer, and then just tighten that down with this socket.
So this is the fuel feed pipe. I'm just going to back off this collar here from here. So I've got my AN6 wrenches. Come on here, and I'll just undo that away from that. There we go. It's the connector coming out, the 90 degree. So once you've done all the threads, you can take it out of there. That's what that looks like. And what I was trying to show you before, come to the light, is this. So as I was doing it up, so it goes tight there, and then free, and then tight, and free, and that's what I think it's been crushed over a bit. So that's the bit I'm actually replacing. I think I can probably use the rest where it is. So if I get this new one out, because I don't believe there's any problem with the collar, I can just leave this part where it was, and the collar that's already in there, and then just replace this bit. You can see here it's a little bit shorter, not a lot, but I think this bit down here is the bit that was the issue. So I'll just quickly put that back on there. So when you do up these AN connections, you want a bit of this 3-in-1 on the threads, and that will really ease your installation of, you need a bit, dab it round, and then that will really ease your installation of the threads on here. So this bit, you see it's a bit twisted and it's becoming quite hard to do anything with it. So I've just cut that off here with the diamond blade. Nice straight edge there. Got the cotton bud, and just basically show you that. So if you lick it, and then you just go in there and get rid of any of that stuff that you've just cut off. Then you just place this over here like that, and then the next thing is putting this little bit over the top of that Teflon end. But to do that, you need to get a little screwdriver, and you need to bend this bit up so you can get the little end right the way down there. So got to get quite a bit of space, but you just work it around like that, so it's nice. You need quite a bit of space, but all this is going to get covered by the this end that you've just put on anyway, so it's not too bad. Alright, and then you've got this little end here. Okay, see there's a bit there, then you can just place that on there, like so. And you see it needs to go head the whole way down. So I tend to just use something flat, like you can just use this. And that just taps the whole way home, so it needs to be the whole way home round it. And then we'll get the oil. It's just here. 3 in 1. But first I'm just going to make sure this is good. Because you've really got to make sure that that ring is seated the whole way, and it is now. So now, get this, the 3 in 1 oil. Drip it around there, a little bit on there, and then pull this ring up like that. Needs to go a bit more than that, probably. Okay, and then you just stick this in here. There you go. And you can just tighten this against there. And it'll start to get hard to do, and then you just get your tools. And that's the right size for there, and I think it will be the adjustable one here. And you just tighten that onto here. You want it so that the flats meet. Right, so the return line came together much easier. I just managed to not have to cut it off or anything. I just disconnected it and the line wasn't twisted or anything. So they're both on there now, like that, and in a nice spot, which is good. And I've just tightened them up, and I'm gonna just prime the car, obviously the pump, and see if we still got a leak or not. Fingers crossed. Loads of times there's no leak, which is great news. Thank you very much to Talks on eBay for sending them next day delivery. Really appreciate that, because it's got me out of a bit of a hole. So I'll put the link to their eBay shop in there about all my fittings and all my AN connections from them. They're really great. Now I'm just going to place the fuel tank up. The good news is that my electrical connection's still in place, obviously, because that's why it was running. My fuel fill and breather are all connected, so all I've really got to do is put these straps up, and then we're pretty much done, which is nice. So let's just basically make sure that the tab is on at the front, and I'll jack the fuel pump, start again. So then just make sure the fuel tab is on, that little hook that you can barely see at the front, and then I'll just jank the whole tank up and then put the straps on. Easy peasy. So I've put the fuel tank up with the straps on it, and I've been very careful to set the right height of this fuel tank now, so I don't crush my AN lines that are in here. Can't get a good angle on that, but they're in there. So what you do is you get to the right height with these 12 mils here, and then lock the other 12 mil down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another locking nut on afterwards, and I've done the same here. So this one was the one that was obviously the side of the AN lines, and I've just locked that nut back down onto this nut. So that's all set now. So I'm just grabbing the locking nuts now. These happen to be 13 mils. Let's just get that in like that.
and I can just lock that 13 against that 12, and that's just a bit of extra assurance that the whole thing's not going to come, well, that bolt nut's not going to unwind itself, but it won't anyway, but it's just a bit of extra assurance, so that's that. Car's back on the deck now. Moral of the story is be careful when you've got those AN6 connections at the height of the fuel tank, so if you don't want to crush those connections. I think that's what happened into the bottom of the car, and that just bent them slightly, and I think that's what caused the issue. Also, I think that fuel line might have been a little bit twisted somehow, so I'm not really sure how that happened. Maybe as it went in it twisted a bit, but either way, it's all back together and there's no leaks. The car's running and it's ready to go now. So if you like the videos, share and subscribe, throw a comment down below, and you know, look forward to more videos coming up soon. So just a few really small jobs here. I actually used an M6 by 1.0 die just to cut that thread on my little tie rods for the battery strap. A couple of things under the bonnet. I did this little modification, which is drilling a hole in the radiator cap and put a spring to the Jubilee, and that's because this thing kept on coming loose. So I don't know, it doesn't really happen, but also you can see here, this bonnet was red before, so that's where you can see where I've whacked it with a hammer just to get some space under here, just to clear these ears, because this is what was happening. It was kind of clipping on there and coming out. So this spring is not really required, but just what I've got on. And then the other thing was that this hose clamp had actually failed, so the worm drive and the old one had failed, so it wasn't really clamping properly. So that's one of my other problems. So this was coming loose, and that was, so it meant the system wasn't being pressurized. So either way, that's all done now, and let's hope I don't have any more issues with the car overheating, because like I said before, that span open and that was probably leaking anyway. Got rid of a load of water. The other issue I keep on having as well is these bolts keep on coming undone, so I need to think about even better solutions than what I've got here, but I just keep on checking them. And then the final thing is I've got this bracket that I've made down here. This is real cowboy stuff, but there's a bolt hole in it there which goes to the block, and it's got this bracket coming here. I just put this Jubilee and tightened it down, and that means this whole dump tube can't wobble around. And I think what was happening, it was flapping around and it was basically loosening off these bolts eventually. So now that can't happen, so even though it doesn't look the best, but it is definitely on there. That's my current status.